I don't know about you, but it took me by surprise that Truett threw our little snippet into his video. Probably like 15 or 16 hours after we published it. Did that take you by surprise?
Man, that was the weirdest thing. Cause look, you and I, we have a lot of fun on this and it's great. We have a great little following. I love Sweat Elite followers and, the training talk over in the share, like, love it. But it's pretty small, especially in comparison to everyone we're talking about. And so, like, for us to talk, and we didn't even talk that much about him. Like, we were talking so much about so many other people and things and topics. And so for that to actually go into his video, like, within 24 hours, it's kind of, I thought it was weird. I know a lot of people thought it was funny and stuff. I personally thought it was weird. Sorry, I'm struggling with this. Look, here's my take on it, right? It's weird, man. It's weird.
You'd be
And here's
surprised
why I
just
think,
before you start, you'd be surprised at how many downloads the podcast is getting. Especially in my opinion, and the last podcast.
no,
It's
I'm not trying
much
to
higher than
talk
average.
down on our, yeah, no, I'm not trying to talk down on our podcast and stuff. Like I said, like, I'm not doing that. It's just, it's not exactly the Joe Rogan experience. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we're not going like fight like, and so for him to take that like within 20, it's strange, right? Whatever. But here's the main thing that I thought was strange, right? There's a few things. He used our little clip, and he what I was talking about was about clickbait, right? And then he used it for clickbait. So no,
That's pretty smart.
so, so he's proved my point number one there, right? So that's kind of proved my point there. And I don't think he's done it like that to be ironic, to be like, I don't think he's personally, I don't know him. I don't think he's quite smart enough to do that, but whatever, maybe he is. But if he's not, or if he is, rather, um, he said something like right after. He said something like, what did he say?
They wrote us, but we didn't write back.
They wrote us off, but we didn't write back. He's literally writing us back by posting our faces all over his thing, So that's, I don't again, don't know if he's trying to be ironic or if he is actually a bit confused and whatever. Here, look, I could go into the weeds and critique that video again because it was so easy to critique again, right? I know you enjoy it, and I respect that other people enjoy it, whatever, blah blah. But again, it was a whole bunch of, you know, I was like, man, he posted the thing about me saying the metrics thing. I didn't care. To be honest, I did kind of care that my face was in it. I don't want to be in any of his videos. But whatever. So we're in the video, so I thought, oh, no way. He's gonna give us like a screw you and drop like a Strava link and like start posting things. Like, lovely, fair play to him. And he didn't do that. That was disappointing.
Yeah.
Once again, he doesn't post his stats, doesn't post. That's disappointing. And then it was a whole bunch of the same stuff that I complained that I didn't really like. It was really surface level stuff, whole bunch of gym bro quotes, him on the track and his wife with the calculator open that's supposed to be the timer. It's just like I don't know I don't know how people are supposed to be entertained with that. But anyway, if you are entertained, here's the main critique, all right? And here's what I think is going on, that the problem is, the real problem. And it goes back to what we talked about in the last one, where I was talking about these influencers are building a brand and selling this hybrid mix of a product and or service, right? And so they have these consumers, these customers. So in Truett Haynes' example, he has these customers, these consumers that have been following him long before he decided to do his OTQ thing, right? So they're coming from a place where they like the gym bro stuff, they like the pull-up thing, they like, him taking his shirt off and flexing the camera and all that good stuff. And that's cool. There's a place for everything on the internet and there's a place for that. But now that he's moved over to the running thing and he's talking about an OTQ thing, he's not educating his consumers about this switch, about this new avenue. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So these consumers, these customers, they don't really know what they're looking at. And that's not to have a pop at them. It's just a fact. Are there some people in there that are going to be good runners? And no, yeah, there are. But I'm generalizing, of course. And I think I can do that here. Generally, because I had a look at some of the comments. That's just like they have no idea what they're looking at. They have no idea. And it would be helpful, I think, this is just a critique, because this is the point of the podcast, for them to educate them. Because otherwise what's going on is it's kind of like this weird, like Dunning-Kruger effect thing, you know, obviously about that like psychological phenomenon about people that like, you know, they have some very little competency, but as soon as they enter something new, the competency grows, but the confidence skyrockets, and they, you know, they've made it, you know, there was like an old video I watched, you know, they've made it to, you know, I think it's like Stupidity Mountain essentially, because they have this this overvalued sense of overestimation about their skill and this lack of self-awareness. And I think it would behoove him to educate them and be like, look, this is what it means to OTQ. This is the times. This is the paces. This is what happens. These are similar runners. This is the gap that I have to bridge. I've run a 2:24 here and a 2:29 there and a 60 whatever in the half. And this is, and if he educated his consumers about all that, then like, I feel like everyone's winning, you know? But at the end of the day, he doesn't care. His consumers don't care. And they're not going to care about my opinion now. But that's just my opinion. That's what I would do if I was close to him, if I was, you know, in his, you know, a friend to him, or, you know, whatever. I try and encourage him to be like, you know, maybe, you know, put some more, you know, if you don't want to post your stats, that's fine. But maybe educate people what's going on, and they can come along for the ride more enlightened, you know, and as their competency grows, then, you know, everything else grows along with everything else. And then so will his. Because upon educating them, then he's going to, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you teach someone and you learn some things along the way. Because we all have, no matter how good or bad he is at running, we all have things to learn, right? Especially in running. And so, I don't know. That would be my main issue about what I've seen the last couple of videos, but there's, I mean.
Yeah, I think you got some good points there. Look, personally, I'd love to see way more stats. Truett, if you're listening, I'm sure we're not the first people to suggest to get on Strava, put more stats out there. He does talk a little bit about the stats and the training and the things that you need to do. I actually agree with a lot of what he says if you listen carefully to him. I do get the sense that he has the awareness to understand a phenomenon that I've found fascinating. I mean, I've been running for almost 20 years. I started to become competitive in 2005, right? That is over 20 years. Since 2026, I've had a couple of years off in there. So totally maybe 18 years. And I started realizing even back in the days when I was racing in the 800 meters and 1500 meters, sort of between 2005 and 2013, that the more you focus on numbers and times and you really think about numbers and times, it's almost like it can subconsciously like restrict you in a long period. And yeah, I could talk for hours about that, but I think that he sort of understands that side of it. And I think he's trying not to get too hung up on splits and times and numbers. And he's trying to keep very above all that. And I think he's onto something with that. I don't know if that's exactly where his head's at. I'd love to talk to him about it. Truett, if you're listening, I'd love to have you on the pod maybe sometime and talk about that, because it's super, I find that fascinating, because whenever I've focused strictly on paces and numbers and decided my threshold's this and this is that, and my heart rate, I've always like stagnated when I do that. When I get away from all that and just like learn to race and listen to my effort, I almost always improve. And so I don't know, maybe he's onto something with all that, and he's sort of like subtly telling us that by keeping his content quite, you know, I don't even know the word, you know, like, you know, not too fixed on the numbers. I don't know, because I think like Floberg's a good example of someone that he's so good at the videography side of things. He's obviously improved quite a lot over the last few years. But now that he's gone down that path of analyzing numbers a lot and having a lot of firm goals, and Koros is involved and there's lots of numbers involved, I get the feeling like he doesn't kind of realize maybe that could be a bit of a limiter over the long run. I don't know, because I think he has the ability to go a lot faster, and he probably will if he figures all that out. But it's a cool, yeah. I think I must say though, I touched on this before, that we haven't had this many downloads in the podcast for a very long time. There's been individual episodes back in the past, Galen Rupp and Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Eden, that have had sort of very high downloads, and we're sort of trending back to that with the In My Opinion that I put out, which is one of the highest downloads we've had in a long time, and then the one we did. And so people love it, and people love your rants, by the way. So we've got to keep those rants going. So let's keep this let's keep it up.
I didn't think they were rants. I thought, but yeah, and they're not intentional. They are not intentional. I just I genuinely felt like I wasn't even ranting about Truett Haynes in the last one. I just felt like, no, seriously, like, because I know I can get ranty.
It's the best when you don't even know you're ranting. That's the best.
I didn't feel like it, because I just felt like I was just critiquing it, because the other ones I was just like, this is great, that's great, that's great, this is great. And then one that I just don't have, a lot of time for. And so I just kind of critiqued it. But here, look, at the end of the day, it's only YouTube. Do you know what I mean? And some people take it way too seriously, that I've noticed. And
hell yeah.
If I offended the gym bros, I'm sorry, Jim. I am sorry.
You definitely did, because some of the comments
I
did
had
a bit of a crack at you.
I don't know how or why someone would get offended, but if they did, not my intent. My intent is to just have a discussion with my mate about YouTubers, which we both enjoy, which we both, it's a big part of the running community now. That's the whole point here. But look,
what do you think about the people saying, what's Luke doing talking like he's a 215 guy?
Yeah,
that was a bit weird, wasn't it?
No, it's not weird. It's not weird, because again, it goes back to exactly what I was talking about, the Dunning-Kruger effect. People that just kind of have this kind of overestimation of themselves and other people, and they have this lack of self-awareness about something that they're not fully, competent in. And it doesn't matter if I've run a 224, a 214, or a 244, or a 344. I still have the knowledge and awareness that the difference between a 224 and a 216, which was my point, is
huge,
astronomical. It's gargantuan. It's massive. It's not even the same athlete, and that's my point. And I picked that number randomly because it was still a PB for him, but still a massive light year away from his goal of 2:16.00. And the point is that if he runs a PB somewhere around that 224, 223, even 222, a few things. A PB is amazing achievement. You should be happy with it, always in a marathon. So there's that. But if your goal is 2:16.00, you are so far away from that it's not even like it's not even worth the conversation, kind of. Do you know what I mean? It's so far away. And that was my point. That's my point. It's not like it's just a coincidence that I ran 224. I randomly picked it. It's not like I've run 224 and it, like, I don't know what. And then also some people thought like I was saying 224 is a bad time. Again, none of those.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100% with this part. Yeah.
None of those are the points. It's irrelevant. It has to do subjectively and specifically to his goal of 2:16.00. And, that's my point. If you go out and you push all this content and you do all this shilling and you get all these brands on board and do all this and get all these gym bros on board and hide stats and hide this and hide that, and then you run 224, 223, 222, 221, 220. It's not fair on the people that have gone along for the ride, in my opinion, because that is so far away it's not even the same sport almost. And that's my point. That's my point.
There must be
Versus someone that's,
something though. I'll let you go.
but that's the last part. Versus someone that's putting themselves out there, putting their statistics out there, getting closer, pushing the line. You know they're there, thereabouts, and they can't bridge the gap. They run 218, they run 217. Adam Wood, for example, we'll talk about him. I forgot about him in the last one. Runs 216, mid or high. That's close. That's something I can get behind. That's close. It's a different,
Yeah.
it's a different animal. It's a different ball game. That's my point.
But there must have been something before we move on from Truett. There must have been something in his racing or training in the last few years for him to fundamentally believe that he can do this. Because if he does end up running 221 or 224, it's a bit of a buzzkill, isn't it? And I feel like it's hard for anyone to really follow any goals moving forward, right? So
But
what I'm
that's my
saying
point.
is he's
But
but
that's
that's your point. But he's broken world records in other endeavors before. So he clearly has some understanding as to like where his fitness is at with reaching a target. He's got the world record for the most amount of pull-ups in 24 hours, I believe. And so he must be something about his training or racing. So he's racing the Austin Marathon in a week and a half. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes there.
right. So that's my point, though. Your last one that I was talking, why I'm bringing in the Dunning-Kruger effect. If he runs 221, the large majority of people will applaud and tell him, bro, you got so close. Because they haven't got a Scooby. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Because they don't have a clue. The large majority of people that follow him, they don't have a clue. And so, in my mind, it feels like he's afraid to educate them because then they'll realize 221, 220, 222, whatever is a million miles away from the mark. But if you don't educate them and they don't know and they only know gym bro stuff, then they'll see a time that on paper looks really good and they'll be like 2 hours and 16 minutes versus 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's only 4 minutes. That's not a lot at all. Man, you did so well.
You're so close.
That's my point. That's my point. But look, he'll go out the Austin Marathon and he'll smash 219 and then he'll get closer and then he'll keep getting closer and get 218 and 217 and he'll prove us all wrong. Just you wait.
Love it. For some reason, this reminds me, every time this sort of thing comes up, it reminds me of 2019 when I was running the Berlin Marathon. I was warming up. No, sorry, I was doing a shakeout run the day before and I ran into a few people and they were like, I started chatting to them. They were from somewhere in the Middle East. And they asked me I asked them what their goal was. And then they asked me what my goal was and said sub 235. And they went, oh, you must be in the elite field. Right. So these guys are like 4-hour marathoners. And I remember thinking to myself, I haven't even thought about elite fields at that point. Like that's just so far away. And when you are a 4-hour, 3-hour 30 marathoner, you can be led to believe that even 224 and 216 are close. They're really not. I think 218 and 215 are not that close, and I'm 218. I think 215 is a pretty big leap. So
it's massive,
yeah.
But it's closer.
yeah.
At least it's closer.
Yep. So, yes.
No, you go on.
I was actually just going to announce a small change to the podcast, but is there anything more on Truett before we transition over to a few other things we saw on the internet over the last week?
No, I was actually just about to transition to, since I brought up Adam Wood, and I did forget to chat about him in the last one because he is another one that I watch regularly and I do enjoy.
Yeah, cool. Let's get into Adam Wood in a minute because I watched his last video. I loved it. Okay, so my brother's just gotten involved in the business and he's brilliant at what he does, and we're going to be sort of driving forward with Sweat Elite in a few new ways. YouTube's coming back soon, TBA about that. But the podcast is going to have a few new things because we want to create a little bit more value for our shareholders club. And so moving forward, this podcast here is sort of like the news. We're analyzing just what's going on out there in the running in the running news, mostly around content, but we'll talk a bit about other things too. This will be every week moving forward on the public side. Training talk, which has been on the private side for many months now. It's going to remain on the private side, but once a month, it's going to be, or once every 4 weeks, it's going to be on the public side for people to get a taste of it, see if they want to actually listen to it more, and go on the private podcast feed, which is where the Shareholders Club sits, so you can get access to that private podcast feed. In my opinion, will be probably every 2 weeks. Had so many people reach out about last week's episode in so many different ways. That's why I love doing those episodes. I hear just so many different perspectives about things. That's going to be every 2 weeks. And the workouts of the week that used to be in my opinions, the section 10, 15 minutes, it's going to be behind the Shareholders Club private podcast feed moving forward as well. So every week I'll share a 5K, 10K specific workout, a half marathon workout, and a marathon workout, and exactly how to do them based on how I'm coaching. And that'll be for the shareholders as well. So a bit more value coming into the Shareholders Club. The Discord channel too, I really want to try and make that a little bit more engaging moving forward, more conversations, more learnings, because there are forums out there, there are other little communities out there that can become a little bit, especially when you can be anonymous and you can sort of start posting and hating on people a lot and sharing false information and saying stuff that's not true, not only around people, but also about like training theories and stuff like that, like plugging things the wrong way and so forth. So we want to try and make that community really good. So that's what's going on the podcast. And that will be introduced from next week. So this week it'll be the news, this one right here on the public side, and the private side will be the training talk, but that will change as of next week. Hope that made sense. I can see it easily on the screen here and it's easy for me to follow, but it's a bit harder for me to explain. But do join us over on the Shareholders Club if you're interested. It's just $10 a month or $99 a year. We don't do any ads through the podcast anymore. I spent 4 or 5 years doing remote, ads through brands, and I backed brands I didn't really believe in. I've gone away from all that moving forward, and I want to create a supporters club because I believe that's the best way to keep the content authentic, real, and not holding back with anything at all. I think a lot of podcasts sort of have to keep their content quite polite and quite some certain way by having brands involved, and I want to get away from that model because I just feel like that's the future. Adam Wood, we didn't talk about him last week. Love this episode. Brutally honest about some of his mental health struggles. He ran 2:16.50 something at CIM and just missed the Boston Marathon Elite Field this year. What do you think about his last episode?
Yeah, very good. Very good. I've been watching his videos for a good while and really enjoying them. He has, for those that don't know, he has like a joint Instagram account with his, pretty sure it's his wife, Mika is her name, I think. Yeah, and she's a very good runner in her own right. And then they have separate YouTube. So like she was on, I think, Rory Linkletter's podcast, the Out and Back podcast, and she was explaining like how, her YouTube is more for, I think she put it like the girlies, and so if you're a female runner listening to this, like I would recommend. I watched her videos and they were still pretty good. Like I do see what she meant. Like it is definitely pushed more towards girls and stuff, but still pretty good. But I watch his videos whenever they're out, and yeah, they're really good. He does a good job. He speaks well to the camera. Seems like a sound lad. Explains everything really well. He's up in Utah, so it's cool. He's in a really cool position where he gets to train quite a bit with like Connor Mance and Clayton Young and those BYU lads. So that's really cool. It's just all around really good content, really good running content that I enjoy. And he's obviously a really good runner in his own right. CIM, he looked like it was weird. I watched this build up for CIM and it was like he was in like not good shape, like at all. And then out of nowhere, he just got in good shape. Like it was really strange. It was really weird. And then he just kind of turned it on. And then I was like, oh man, he's not going to get close to this OTQ. And I want him to, like I was saying before about like Cole Gibbons and stuff, like once you get invested, you want them to do well. And I was like a bit bummed. And then he just started turning it on. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And he got close, he did well, 216 high or whatever it was. So yeah, he's in a good spot to do well. But no, the last video was good, because you could tell he's been quite down and he was expressive with that, which is obviously tough to see someone express that, and you don't like seeing anyone being down, even if you know them, don't know them, it's shit. But it's cool that he was able to express that, and viewers of course will find that helpful to know that no matter how successful someone is, how fast someone is, how whatever they have going on in their life, we all go through it. But yeah, no, it's good video, good
Yeah, I
content.
agree. I think it's always resonating to share some of the struggles that go on with with creating content and trying to run as fast as you can. But I didn't follow him too closely in the lead up to CAM. Kind of wish I did, because I'm fascinated by the whole not being in super good shape and then like hitting like a really good few weeks of training and then racing well. I see it happen all the time. Like Linklater spoke a bit about that in his half marathon build up to before he broke the national record, right? Like he was sort of like not doing so well, and then he like strung together like a couple of weeks of really good training only, and then he just nailed his national record. I feel like that's something that's like relatively common, and it does make you sit back sometimes and wonder, like, yeah, you don't have to be in like phenomenal shape like 3 months out from a race. Sometimes, as long as you're ticking along and getting things done. I see that happen all the time in athletes that I coach as well. They might, they might have struggled with a little niggle, or work might have been busy, but if they can just hit that sort of 2 weeks out to sort of 6 weeks out from the race really well, like in that zone, it's oftentimes, more than enough of time to be able to race really well. Of course, there's so many factors that go into this in terms of lifetime volume and your previous racing. And one of the biggest things that people overlook, which AI will never be able to really do very well, is confidence in your ability. I think that's such a big deal. Yeah, but Adam, back to Adam. I hope it sounds like he's turning things around. He didn't announce, I don't think, what his next race is. I think he said that he sort of knows what it might be. So hopefully we can.
Well, it's Boston, isn't it? Because he tried to get into the elite field, but he didn't get in. But he's still doing Boston anyway. I thought that was it.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought he said he's 90% sure of what his next race is. Yeah. I know
Oh,
he
maybe
just
I'm
missed the
wrong.
Boston Elite Field. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong then. Yeah, I think I just assumed he didn't get in the elite field, but he's still going to do it anyway. But I don't know.
Mm. Yeah.
That'd be a good race for him though, especially when you're just coming off CIM. Kind of similar. Rollers downhill, net downhill. That'd be a good transition, just to take that fitness, just do the same that you did for CIM, do it again for Boston in terms of your training and stuff, and get cracking again. That would be a good one. Yeah, no, yeah, maybe I'm wrong then. I just assumed that he was in it and doing it anyway.
Yeah. We'll try and figure out what that is in the next week before we record the next podcast. There's a few big announcements through the week of many of the people that we follow around London Marathon and Boston Marathon, obviously. Rancho Japan announced that he's definitely in the London Marathon elite fields. He's doing Tokyo Marathon in the build up to that. It was pretty cool watching. Did you watch his video? The one that he did the 14:43 park run, and he sort of spoke through his next few months. He talked about it.
I think so. He was that the one where he tried to get the course record and he got close but just missed out?
He ran it equal to the national record in Japan, 14:43 park run record. Obviously, people
Yeah, I
don't
think
take
so.
that too seriously, because there's probably at this point thousands of people that can run faster than that. But he's sort of doing it as a bit of a entertainment thing as well. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Jake Barraclough mentioned that he's doing Tokyo Marathon and London Marathon and a few marathons sort of in between that as well. Yeah, this guy's just on fire. I'm genuinely curious, because I sort of try to zoom out and look at things from a longer term perspective. I really wonder, one, what he would do with his channel, or what he would do in general if he did sustain an injury. Of course, no one wants that, because he is at the moment the most entertaining kind of running YouTube space, in my opinion. But also, if he can sort of sustain this level of engagement and interest over the long period of time, because his videos are so good right now, and at some point, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think about this all the time in terms of how where he will be in a year or two. But we're here right now, and I really hope that he gets a little bit closer to his goal of breaking 210. He in the video, actually, someone asked, he was going through a few questions that came through. I think it was through his Instagram, and someone said, would you rather run 2 211s or 1 209 and the DNF? And he said, I would rather get 100 DNFs and 1 209. So he is
Yeah,
fully locked in. Yeah, pretty stupid question. He even said that.
yeah, that's
So into it.
obvious. That's
Yeah.
obvious. Yeah, man, anyone would rather that. Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, no, he's locked in. He's definitely locked in. I hope he gets it. Obviously, everyone that follows along, and he does have a massive following, hopes he gets it too. Uh, yeah, you'd wonder, right? Is this the way to do it? Just non-stop marathons until you get after it, or if going the other way that we already discussed in terms of spinning the wheels for some quicker stuff would get you there. But I think at this stage, it's kind of like what you said. He's kind of locked into the brand, right? The train harder, not smarter brand, which is amazing. Like at the end of the day, you have to remember these lads this is how they make their living, YouTube, and they have to stay on point. All my points that I said last time in terms of this is the brand, this is the product. Um, I mean, there's definitely a way where he could still, as long as he's still putting out good running content, it doesn't matter if he doesn't have to just constantly run 200 plus K a week for people to continue to watch his videos. Like if he genuinely said, guess what, guys, we're no longer doing 200K a week. I'm going down, I'm taking it way down, I'm cutting it like almost in half, and I'm just going to go to the track twice a week, just rip the legs off myself with 5K and 3K and 1 mile speed work, and put myself in the mix at some cool Japanese track events and try and place well. His followers would love that. It
I agree.
doesn't matter. Like they would, they'd be all over it. I think he just loves it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I genuinely think, I don't think because I thought about this the other day, because I kind of said the opposite. And then I was like, I disagree with myself. Like, I think for some reason, if his YouTube, pardon me, his YouTube channel just fell off the face of the map, he couldn't post anything on YouTube anymore, he'd still be running 200 odd K a week.
Yeah,
Just for
I think
himself.
I think he's addicted very much to the higher volume. He just loves it.
100%. He loves it. He loves it. And I think that's what would serve him so well, to your point about him, because that's his comfort zone, right? As insane as it is to say, someone's comfort zone, plus kilometers a week. Um, but it is, right? That's his comfort zone.
It is.
And when we can do things, not even in running, in life, but especially in running, when we can do things against our comfort zone, that's when you change, and that's when you develop, and that's when you grow. And I really do think he would be served best to get out of that comfort zone and start changing it up and start ripping the legs off himself and spinning the wheels really fast. I really do think that. Yeah.
Mm.
Will he do it? I don't know. Probably not. And again, his consumers, his customers, his fans, whatever you want to call them, they're not going to care too much. But I tell you what, they'll care a lot if you ran a 209. They'll care a lot if you ran a 209. They'll be invested, and they will love it. They will love it. And I think to get there, can he get there doing what he's doing now? Yeah, I'm sure he can. But if I had to put money, if you gave me two avenues for him and I had to put money on one, I would put money on the one where it's, the opposite of what he's doing now. Taking the volume down, increasing the speed, increasing the intensity. That's just my take.
I'm going to put it on record and say that I actually do not, even though I love the guy, I do not think he can get to 209. I really hope this clip is literally replayed later, that I'm wrong. I don't think he can get to 209 what he's doing right now. I think he can get to 209 by doing a focused 3 to 6 month speed block. Back down to maybe 90 miles, 145, 150K a week, 2 sessions in the week, over speed, really fast work, get that mile time, that 5K time down to closer to 14 flat. He's had a few cracks at 5K. Never gone overly close to the 14-minute mark. It's very rare for someone to run 209 without breaking 14 minutes. Very rare. The paces are just too close. They're too
Yeah, yeah,
close. And he's had a
and
lot of cracks at 5K. It's usually between 14. I'm sorry, Jake, I don't know exactly his PB. I should have got that on the screen here, but he's typically around that 1440, 1430 mark. That does translate on the VDOT calculators to be like 214, like 215, 216 at best. Now, there's no doubt he could run faster than that if he sort of tapered down and targeted one. No doubt about that. We sometimes don't realize, like Phil Sessman's a good example of someone that runs half marathons and his marathon build-ups and doesn't taper for them, right? We've spoken about that at length. You can't judge people's times too much in the shorter distances if they're just doing them as a race practice. But yeah, I think I really don't know if Jake can run 209 by doing what he's doing right now. I think he can run 212, maybe 211. But as we discussed around the whole, Truett getting down to 215, there's a big difference between 212 and 209. There is. So yeah, I think I would love, and I think you're dead right though. I think his followers actually genuinely would like, especially if he doesn't run much faster in these next few months, which obviously we hope he does, and we send him, our best wishes. But if he doesn't, I think it would be cool to see him do a speed block and then reload with a short 8 to 10 weeks specific marathon block, and then bang, 209.
it'd be amazing. I'd love that. I would love that, because look, I like his content too, but a lot of the times it's a lot of the same stuff, like it really is like a 5K park run, big marathon build, but it is a lot of the same stuff, and I'd love that. And I'm telling you, like his body would be so shocked, it would be such a shock to the system if he just started, taking that volume way down and taking the intensity way up. His body would be like, what the hell is this? And for the better. I mean, of course, for the better.
Yep.
But who knows? I'd love to see it.
I'd love to see it too. Ben is running. Last episode, lactate threshold test. He's just off his 30:06 10K Rotterdam Marathon coming up. That 30:06, man, that tells me he could potentially run a huge PB. 222, I believe, is his best. 30:06 to me translates to a 217, maybe 218. Potential marathon at Rotterdam. He's in training camp at the moment with Victor Schmangs, friend of the pod. Reached out to me after the In My Opinion, and I actually really appreciated his voice message. He sent me a message after the In My Opinion and said, I disagree with a lot of the things you said, but I loved it. Mostly around the data tracking and stuff. But yeah, Ben is running. I'm looking forward to tracking his journey into the Rotterdam Marathon. He seems like he's in a good headspace. Did you watch his last video?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think from following him, I think that's a big part of it for him, right? What you just said there, like the headspace. He seems to get in his head
It's a
a
huge
lot.
thing.
Yeah, especially with the marathon, it's like a weird one for him. It's like the opposite problem that like Jake Barraclough or that I might have or something. Like his 10K and his 5K are like way faster than his marathon. Because even though he ran 30 low and it's a PB and everything, it's not that massive of a PB. Like I think he's run like 30 low or 30 mid way before, around the time when he ran 222. And so it's weird, yeah, that he has that disconnect to the marathon, the total opposite problem.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's a weird one. It is a weird one. Yeah, no, I hope he gets that, 219 or 218, or I think that's the time he's going for at Rotterdam. And he's definitely in shape for it. Everything that he's posting and looking like, he definitely looks like he's in shape for it. Did a good long run I saw with Cole, Gibbons, and Hugo Fry. That looked like a good hit out for all three of
It
them.
was a good hit out. Now, you can't, of all people, we both know, you can't look at workouts in isolation and judge them too much. But he did do a 15K tempo with Hugo Fry, who I want to speak about in a minute because he launched his YouTube channel properly yesterday, and I watched it. Did you watch it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Good.
Okay, let's get to that in a minute. He did a 15K tempo with Hugo and Cole, and those guys dropped him and he averaged 324 per K over 15K. Now, again, you don't want to, he did say he was coming in with a bit of fatigue, but for someone at 30:06 training for the marathon, so 15K is just over 9 miles. 324 per K is
9.3.
about,
Yeah.
and 324 per K is close to 5:30s. I would have thought that would be pretty easy for him.
Oh, oh, I guess I didn't. I thought he averaged what Cole and them averaged 316. He averaged 320. Oh, sorry. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's my
Mm.
fault. I thought he averaged the same as Cole and them. Yeah, that's a big difference. That is a big difference. I didn't know that. That is a wrinkle in it. Yeah, for sure. That should be. Yeah. Again, again, the longer stuff. Yeah, it actually. Yeah.
Mm.
Unbeknownst to me, yeah, it kind of is proving my point to what I said before. It's a weird one, man. It is a weird one for him. The longer stuff. Yeah.
I sometimes wonder
And
how psychological this stuff is, though, you know?
yeah, yeah, 100%. And especially because I think I saw in his video or someone's video, it was like the thumbnail was something like, showing arrows to everyone. It was like 222, 217, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that must have played in his head, maybe. I must have, I don't know, but maybe that I'm running with two lads that are 216 and 217 marathoners. These lads are animals. These lads are where I want to be. And could that have played a part in his head? Is it like, oh, this is really long now. This is really grindy. This isn't like a fast 10K. Yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I
Honestly.
just thought, like, again, where we care, like, who knows? I did watch the whole video and he didn't really talk too much about why he wasn't able to keep up with those guys, but you could be onto something there. But yeah, coming from a 30:06 and being in marathon specific training, that workout should have been pretty comfortable to sit with Cole and Hugo. Mm.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yep, yep.
did do 8 by 1K and 2:59s with 90 seconds rest in the same video. And yeah, seems like that pace for him is, yeah,
Do you see
moving
what
out.
like
Yeah.
that's wild. That's different. That's crazy. Like if you can do that for the Ks, you should be able to run much faster in that 15K tempo. Do you know what I mean?
I know
When
exactly what you mean.
it's almost like a mental thing, like, oh, these are only K repeats. I can rip. I can rip. Did he do it on the track, the K repeats?
I think so.
You know, it's hard.
I actually can't remember. I just remember him talking about the splits, but yeah.
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 But either
Yeah.
way,
It's interesting.
do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a weird one.
Maybe Ben is running is just a 10K focused guy, and that's cool. I don't know. I really hope. I really hope he's great for the sport. I really hope he rips a good marathon. But
No,
yeah,
me
it's
too.
interesting.
No, me too.
Mm,
Me too.
mm.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of those lads, yeah, Hugo, because I'd been following him a while on Instagram and I went onto his YouTube and I thought I was just like, there was
Dave,
like one video and I was like, I thought he had a YouTube and I was like, does he have two YouTubes and I'm on the wrong channel? Like, and I was confused. And then he was like, oh, I finally decided to make a video. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I thought he was always, but no, it was good. It was funny. It was just typical him. His personality is in there. He's joking around, having the crack, rips a good workout. Um, It'd be interesting though, because I do know from following him, he loves like that Battersea Park, which is essentially a track, right? And he's getting ready for Boston, which is not a track. Like you need to
yeah.
get the hill work in. And so it'll be interesting to see what he does. Because does he have a coach? Did he say he has a coach? I can't remember.
Mm, I think he does have a coach. I think he said on the Emotional Intelligence podcast with Callum Goddard that he's got a coach. I didn't know who his coach was though. It's something I
Yeah.
heard of. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be interesting to see what his coach kind of gives for him in the build in terms of workouts and hill work specifically. Um, because yeah, Battersea Park's not going to get you the strength you need to get up the Newton Hills. You know what I mean? Um, but like London, I'm sure I don't know London very well. I'm sure there's plenty of places to go where you can get hills. Um,
Richmond Park's not that far away from Battersea Park, but that's got plenty of good hills. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
it's a bit of a journey, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm.
But no, it'll be interesting to see. He's clearly in good shape though. He did that pretty good workout. It was like sets of AKs. It was like AK flow, AK hard, AK flow, AK hard. And so he's clearly coming into the build in good shape. You know, he just ran sub 30 10K, all that good stuff. So yeah, he's in good shape coming into it, which is good. All signs looking good for a PB at Boston. And yeah, like I've said a million times before, as long as you get the weather, you if you've done the training right, Boston's definitely a place where you can and should PB for sure.
Yeah. Looking forward to following his journey. Hopefully he posts. I haven't followed his Strava recently, but at least at the end of last year, I definitely noticed that he wasn't logging everything. Because I think I brought up on the podcast at one point with you. I'm like, have you noticed that Hugo's Strava shows like 50K a week some weeks? And then he posted on Instagram that his like monthly volume is like 180K. So I'm like, oh, okay, he's not posting everything. I don't know why you would do that. I think it's way better to just log it all so people can
Yeah.
analyze and give you tips, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And he
Yeah.
never said why on like any of his
I mean,
Instagram.
I haven't consumed all of his stuff, so I might have
Oh,
missed
okay.
it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Just post your stats. If you're a YouTuber, just post your stats.
I wish Nick Bear published his stats. He's got a Strava account, but he's only got like 10 followers and it's private.
Yeah, yeah. I don't get it. You know, like literal pros are posting everything. Like, why would a YouTuber, why would an influencer, like, why would they need to hide their statistics? I don't get it.
Do you think for someone like him it could possibly be, I don't know, this might be thinking a bit extreme, but do you think for him it could possibly be a safety issue? Surely not.
Ah, yeah, maybe he might have some weird gym bros that want to, you know, find out where he lives and do something weird. That could be it. Yeah, look, if that's it, then yeah, I take back what I said. If it's safety, then yeah, of course, I get that. But if it's not that, then
Well,
I don't get it.
I do remember Molly Seidel saying that she had a heart, because she was on Strava for a while. So for those not familiar, Molly Seidel, because I guess plenty of people listening are probably maybe somewhat new to the sport and following these influences. But Molly Seidel, Olympic bronze medalist from 2021, American 224, like very entertaining character. She was posting on Strava.
Trail runner now.
I know. I saw that.
I know.
Very cool.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah, she was logging on Strava for a while, built up a big following, very funny on there. But then I remember her saying that she had people turning up to her house, trying to run with her, just trying to run with her, just saying, yeah, I want to join your run this morning. And she was like, nah, I can't have this.
No, Jesus Christ, that's fucking
You can
ridiculous.
hide your starting and finishing location to some degree, I think. I've never actually looked at doing that.
I
Although
know,
some people
but
although some people recommend if I do that in 2024 when I was having a crack at some people, but yeah.
if you're the type of weirdo to show up unannounced at someone's house like that, then you're probably the type of weirdo to figure ways around it. You know, like, okay, if this is where they ended it, then they must live here and blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, Jesus, I never heard that story. That's weird, man. Don't.
Mm,
If you're listening to this, don't do that. That's
yeah.
weird. That will get you arrested. Um, Jesus, I didn't know that. God bless her. But yeah, no. Good content out there, good stuff. I'm trying to think if we missed anything or missed someone.
Yeah,
Um,
Cole Gibbons, he reached out to me after the last pod and was stoked about it. Yeah, he posted his Canterbury 10 mile
yeah,
run,
that
which
was
was good.
good.
Yeah.
That was good. And the reason I think it was good as well is because he's quite early in the build. You know, he's doing London, which is still a ways away. But it also looked like it wasn't a great course. You know, looked
No.
quite hilly. Looked like a good bit of it was on like, I think he said some of it went even through a trail, which is weird for a 10 miler. And he was kind of solo. He said there was one lad there kind of pushing him. And he still averaged a time where, you know, if you put it all together and put all those facts together and the statistics and all that stuff, like he's definitely in like sub 65 shape for a
Well, I
half.
think he averaged close to 5 minute miling, and I worked that out to be basically
Doesn't it?
65 pace. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like the pace that he ran in that 10 miler would be 65 something. Um, so yeah, given a better course and better conditions and stuff like that, like he's easily running sub 65 and a half, because it is a 10 miler, of course, you have to take that into account, 5K less. But so I mean, yeah,
But running
what is
alone on a course that's not super quick is a lot slower than being in a good race with a lot of people around,
that's
good
my point.
atmosphere. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, yeah. So my whole point is he's clearly in really good shape, quite still early on in the build, which is really good. And I know he had an absolute cracker at London last year, his first marathon, and then had some bad ones on along the way. So it'd be cool and nice to see him get back into that form and into that shape and run a good one at London again. Because last year the weather was pretty bad, right? In
At
London.
London, it was pretty warm. Yeah.
Yeah. And he still ran so well. So like I was
I
even
know.
thinking about that. I was like, even if he doesn't get the weather, he didn't get the weather last time, and still
Yeah.
ran really well. So that's obviously got to be a big confidence boost for him, if you get in shape, get in shape. Whereas most of us, like, we get in shape and then you get the weather review and you're like, ah man, what's the point? Versus for him, you would think like, I did it last year, so I can do it again.
Mhm. Yep.
So yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, Rory Linkletter. I watched his video. Nothing too much to talk about there. I actually had a call with a friend in Melbourne the other day. Shout out to Daniel Hart, legend of a bloke. We met at Lake Beulah Marathon in 2020. We battled it out till 38K together, and then he just beat me at the end. Been a good friend since. And he mentioned Sam Parsons. I looked at some of his videos, which are pretty good. I recommend checking out his channel. We'll talk more about that, although he hasn't posted the last couple of weeks. But before we wrap up, I want to bring up a couple of Instagram posts that I loved. First one, Sahil Bloom, not a runner. The ultimate life hack is the ability to quickly reset and recover from a bad interaction, from a bad day, from a missed workout, from a poor decision. You can start over whenever you want. You can't always control what happened, but you can control how long you carry it. There you go.
What do you make of that?
Yeah, look, I think we can get really okay. So shout out to Nick from Melbourne, who I'm coaching at the moment, training for Osaka. You'll race him. He's probably going to run, I reckon. Well, I'll talk through the situation actually first. He's in really good shape. He ran 236 in Berlin. I reckon he's in 226, 227 shape now. Just followed the plan, hasn't gotten too strict with numbers, just rolling with it. And he did his a long run on the weekend, and he's been dealing with a little bit of plantar fasciitis, a little bit of pain in the lower legs. And he messaged me after it and was a little bit worried about it. And I said, mate, like, you have put together months of like super consistent workouts and volume. You can afford to take like quite a few days off here. You'll be completely fine. Cross train. Let's get on top of it and let's reload for the last couple of workouts. And spoke to him this morning. He's cross training. He's all over it. It's easy to think that, you have one bad day and your whole workout, your whole build is ruined. That's just completely not true. And I think it's really important to have people around you that can help you navigate that. And to some extent, you've been navigating an Achilles pain. We'll talk much more about that on the private podcast for the shareholders. But you've managed this super well. You're in great shape. You've had a bit of pain. You have to take a few days off, and you've just been like, it is what it is. Let's get on with it.
It's only pain.
That's what Truett Haynes has been saying in his videos, by the way.
That was the joke. That was the joke.
Full
No,
circle.
no, you're dead. No, you're dead right. No, yeah, you're dead right. It's very, man, Jesus, how many times have I been there before? I take off a few days and I think that's it. I thought I was in 220 shape. Now I'm in 250 shape. Like, what's the point? It's so easy. It's so easy to just gaslight yourself into bad shape. Like but once you do it enough, and look, it comes with more experience and doing it more, like you just know the body it's not built that way. Taking a few days off is not going to wreck your build. And then so much of it is mental too. Like the better off you are managing that and kind of controlling it and controlling your emotions around it, the better you'll be physically in a way. Like the two of them are a lot more closely aligned than you would think, than most people think, in my opinion. Um, and the better you are at that, then the better those runs, the next runs will feel. You start, getting out of that toxic mindset and be like, no, I'm in good shape. I'll be all right. I'm just going to push this one anyway. And then you surprise yourself and you surprise yourself again. And then all of a sudden you're back firing.
Love it. Second post by Brad Strulberg. I shared one of his last week. So these posts actually aren't necessarily linked to running, but they just sort of, relate a little bit. A walk doesn't always need a podcast. A workout doesn't always need an audiobook. Your kid's basketball game doesn't need your inbox. Cramming more into every second creates the illusion of progress. But if you're always trying to do everything, you're never really doing anything, at least not well. The best performers keep the main things, but they aren't perfectionists. That shit burns you out. They allow for the messiness of life. Stop worshipping the false idol of rote optimization. Excellence is decidedly human. You can't engineer the magic. It happens in the liminal spaces when we least expect it.
I like it. Love it.
Love it. And his caption here is high performance experience pressure to maximize each second they're awake. But if every aspect of life turns into work, it's not sustainable. You end up exhausted. Yeah, cool. That's a good follow. Brad Stolberg. All right, last one. Bit of Steve Magnus to finish off the pod. We've reduced performance to inputs and outputs, mileage logs, heart rate zones, recovery metrics, sleep scores. Somewhere along the way, we stripped out the soul. We forgot that the person who shows up to compete isn't a machine to be optimized. They're a machine. They're a human being who needs to feel alive to face a challenge that provides a chance to show who they are. The metrics miss the most important stuff: meaning, purpose, spirit, drive. The story someone tells himself about why they're doing this in the first place. You can have that perfect training load, but if an athlete isn't bought in, it doesn't matter. The recovery score could be 100, but if their spirit is depleted, they'll end up running on empty. And this goes on for a while, but this post is just absolutely gold. January 22, Steve Magnus. There's just so much in that.
Yeah.
We can just easily just like look at these numbers and think that's everything, but like we can ignore how we really feel internally and where our motivation really is. I love it.
Right. And to that point, like the opposite, the opposite side the opposite side of that coin is helpful to understand too. Meaning like when you're misfiring on those numbers, which I feel like I kind of am now, as an example. Like I don't
What do you
feel
mean?
like I'm in this, explain to you now, it'll make sense. I don't feel like I'm in as good a shape as I would really want to be this close to a marathon. I feel like my numbers, my workouts, it's not quite there, but I'm in such a good place mentally that it's helping me. Do you know what I mean? So when you're so he's talking about the numbers can be fantastic and look amazing on paper, but if you're not there spiritually and mentally, then you're probably still going to misfire on the race day, on the big game day, whatever it is. But I'm saying the opposite. Sometimes you can counteract that. Like you can misfire on the number side of things, but if you're in it mentally, spiritually, you can kind of drag those numbers up and be like, look, maybe I'm not in the shape I want to be, but I'm still going to go out there. I'm still going to give it a twist. I'm still going to get after it, and I might surprise myself. And like genuinely, and it's the total opposite of kind of like how I felt with the Chicago build. The Chicago build, I put up a really good build, really smooth, and of course I got that heat exhaustion thing. But the shape I was in, I haven't felt like I was in that shape. Like, the shape I was in like September of 2024. I don't think I've ever been in that shape. And I haven't felt like that since. Not even close. And I'm 3 weeks out from the marathon, but I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, there's so much more to it. Like I'm going out there with the family, experiencing Japan again, the family experiencing it. It's going to be amazing. Just go out there, give it a bash. I literally have a tattoo on my body because of that race. Like it means so much to me. So just go out there and experience all that again, and you might surprise yourself. And if you don't, and it does fall off, the wheels do fall off, who cares? You know, like my kid's going to be, do you think like when I go through the line and instead of it saying, you know, like 223, it says 233, like my kid's not going to be like, what the hell? That's trash. What do you do? Like, you know, do you know what I mean? Like, no, no one cares, you know? It's the other stuff that matters. The other stuff's around it. And so yeah, that's what I mean by the opposite side of that coin.
Love it. Thanks for sharing. Perfect time to transition over to our private podcast feed. Luke has less than 3 weeks until Osaka Marathon. I'll get my scan results back in the next few days, and I'll talk through about what I hope to do in the next year or so. If things do go to plan, feel free to join us over there if you like. Link in the description of this podcast or YouTube episode. I'm looking forward to rolling out the new style of podcast next week. But thanks everyone for listening in. We'll be speaking to you again next week.